Right. So did you go through your scripts? What did you feel? I think in your case you didn't finish the paper again. Last time also you said. So you finished your Ramamiru, you have to finish the paper. So Bharat, is it better than the other script? This one? This one I think is fine. You need to improve the neatness. Some points you are scribbling. So try to improve that. How neither scripts? Any specific comments? I don't remember. I corrected them a while ago. Usually correct the day before so I'm fresh. But these are correct. I corrected them. Yeah, this question was cancelled. Definitely. I posted in the group. I think some of you wrote university classification in this. So I was supposed to delete them, but then I think somehow it got into the paper. But here it is a similar trend. So improve neatness better than the previous one. First script and answers you are writing specific content. Whatever you know you are putting there, but without going beyond that comfort zone and trying to add new layers or new angles to the question. That's the issue. You are writing even all of that, but the second issue persists in your case also. That is, you are just writing what you know and first paper finish chale much fun. That's I think you only wrote the 10 markers properly. Okay, fine. But you didn't write in general issues. You are writing what, see, you will think in terms of bell curve. Basically, that's what it is. Even they do it like that only. See what they follow. So, if you write like most people, you will get marks like most people. That is this. This is what, this is where around 50% of the candidates will be. That is around 250 to 270. Or maybe not 270, 240 to 260. If you are below that, will be less. Maybe another 25% will be here. Then the rest, you can break the other 25% into 15%, 10%. 15% you can make it 260 to 285, 285 plus. Basically, this is what they are trying to do, the whole entire thing. So basically, you are not competing with UPSC, you are competing with each other. That's all. UPSC is the empire who is trying to moderate the whole game. So they will sort answers and scripts into this category. So if you want to get from this zone to this zone, you must make sure your content and other things like presentation, organization, all of this should move towards this and this. So if you are just writing the base content that most are writing, you will get marks that most are getting. To be able to fall in this is what ultimate objective, to get 285, 290 plus, which 10% of the people with optional will get. So anthropology and something like 1000 to 200 are writing, let's say. Some 10% and maybe some 50, around, it may vary, around 50 to 80, I think, yeah, less than 10% will get that 285 plus. This includes those who didn't get means into interview call as well. So 5 to 10% will be here. You have to fall ideally here, which means your content should also be like that. So in your case, both you are finishing you are doing this for the question, but then you're falling back because you're not able. In both of your case, you are trying to write like this only, right? What most people do. But in your case, some questions are here, some are here. You have to push more number of questions to the other side. In some, you are trying to basically your extra 2 minutes. Look, what are the dimensions which you are forcing yourself to bring? You should make it a habit to think what more can we include, and that must be done consistently across the questions. That's the simple principle. There is no big deal here otherwise, right? Along with, while doing this, you should not lose basics. It's like you should, while building third, fourth floor, your ground floor must not collapse. That is neatness, organization, structuring. So some students write great content, but then it's so entirely scribbled with no logic and structure. That alone won't give marks also. Clear? So try to do that. In each question, try to think what else can be written, what more can be written. For example, take the first question, PVTG. Most of you wrote very basic content. I think only Priyanka, she wrote about the PVTG scheme that was announced in the last budget. So a scheme agbodu etla. The question which adiginda anduku kada, because there is no PVTG mission. So you wrote PVTG like nothing happened this year, especially with PVTG. So only she wrote that. Then more than that you can also write. So basically PVTG, basic details you all wrote. Debar Commission, 75 groups, some examples. And there are 5 criteria. Adu kuda from list. You wrote 2-3. 5 criteria with which we identify PVTG. That is pre-agricultural level of technology and the subsistence mode of living, forest-based livelihood, educational low literacy, stagnant or declining population. Just 5 criteria. And then discuss the problems of PVTG. Specific problems are, biggest issue is hunger, malnutrition, declining forestation and declining livelihood sources, along with all the other things, literacy, health, indebtedness, land alienation, problems cheppali. And then government measures gaani way forward. Here you should, why is Article 275(1), why is nobody writing this? In Article 275(1), Constitution makes it mandatory for center to give grants to states with significant PVTG population for the overall infrastructural development of that state. Then this PVTG mission with 15,000 crores. It has 15,000 crore. The PVTG mission should be written. And then you can add, for example, Kaka committee talks about a best practice. Why are you not quoting this committee? The tribes, very few are quoting, getting very few answers. So it says in Odisha, it says that you should go for micro projects for PVTG. Micro projects that are specific to each PVTG. So Chenchus, you should have a special project. For Bungde accounts, a special project. For Jaravas, a special project. Because they are all just, generally we traditionally have one single project for the entire tribal population in the state. Instead of that, he is suggesting that you have tribe specific micro project. That's all. So you should read like this. You just can't write very basic content. Next, most of you had difficulty with this biogenetic variability. So see, this can be a very complex question. For the sake of simplicity, I just suggest that you stick to racial classification. Stick to Guha's racial classification, and there only 3 races are relevant for tribes. I think Priyanka, you wrote this, that is Negrito, and then Proto-Australoid, and Mongoloid. Within Mongoloid, you have 3 subtypes, right? Mongoloid, Paleo-Mongoloid, long-headed, Paleo-Mongoloid, broad-headed, and then Tibeto-Mongoloid. Right then, with a specific example, Paleo-Mongoloid is Angami Nagas. Paleo-Mongoloid, I think long-headed is Angami Nagas. Broad-headed is those living along the foothills of Himalayas. Tibeto-Mongoloid are the tribes of Bhutan, Shillong or Sikkim. Bhutan, Sikkim. Just write this. Proto-Australoid are most of the Central Indian tribes. Negrito will be Andaman Nicobar tribes and most Andaman Nicobar tribes. That's it. And features of each of them. If you want, on top of this, I gave you today's handout, right? There is a mitochondrial DNA analysis by Mavinder. So you can add content from that to say if there is space, you can take. In addition to this, you can also study Indian tribes based on some serological studies. And for these serological studies, you can use Mazumdar's mitochondrial DNA analysis that I gave here. Just take any 3-4 key points from here and write. That's it. That should suffice. And for other topics also, I posted some handouts on the group. Please go through those handouts for value addition content. Next, tribal punctual. It's very fairly easy. Just say most of you had problem with talking about the relevance. You wrote the 5 points, but you should also talk in terms of relevance and where do you find tribal punctual in India today? Fifth and sixth schedule. Fifth and sixth schedule are based on tribal punctual philosophy. So you should write that. Or Forest Rights Act is based on tribal punctual philosophy. And finally, you can conclude by saying tribal punctual must be formalized in terms by giving it expression in terms of a proper tribal policy. So you can see today punctual is just restricted to, what is India's tribal policy from forward to some book. We don't know what is official tribal policy. To know that this punctual should be formalized into an official policy. Just write that and close it. Isolation assimilation debate also is very easy. So it is an extension of punctual. So just say what is isolation? Study and just discuss in terms of which of them in terms of what, who proposed it, why. Your answers were weak here. You could explain it better. What is it? Why? Who? Why? Isolation, national work approach, stay away. Who? Warrior Elvin. Why? Here he should place his own experience that he studied tribes of, for example, Central India like Gonds, Gonds and Baigas, and he found that these people were experiencing deterioration in life because of outside contact. But contrast to this, when he studied tribes of Arunachal, he found that because of the relative isolation, Arunachal tribes were doing quite well in terms of development indicators. So that is the reason why he believed that outside contact is dangerous and should always and should be restricted as much as possible. That is Elvin's view. So not just what it is, but why he thinks this must be done. Similarly, assimilation is Gurve and other social workers like Takkar Baba and others. So what this is bringing them into the mainstream fold. People like Gurve believe that these are backward Hindus because they assume that their religious practices and all of them are similar to Hinduism. And then also add briefly problem with this. So what's the problem with isolation? Isolation means total absence, cut off from contact, which means we can't really don't benefit from the developments of modern world like technology, healthcare, medicine. So it's not good. We are keeping them behind. Likewise, what is the problem with assimilation? Assimilation can mean integration at the bottom with no proper rights or integration at the bottom. No, with loss of culture and loss of identity. So assimilation can mean poverty and distress. So that must not be done. So as a via media we can think of integration. Integration is controlled contact at a place they decide, in a way they determine. That's all. The integration can be seen in punctual. Here. Right? So these two aspects is what most of you were missing. Why? And what is the problem with each? Next is concept of ethnicity. So first define ethnicity. What is ethnicity? It refers to togetherness among a group of people who share common identity such as race, religion, region. So togetherness among a group of people who share common culture, common identity. Togetherness among a group of people who share a common identity such as race, religion, language, culture. That is what we mean by ethnicity. And one thinker who is frequently quoted in the study of ethnicity is Frederick Barth. I think some of you read this. So his concept of ethnicity is to identify people in terms of in-group and out-group, or he says ethnic group is an oppositional identity. He says ethnic group is an oppositional identity that sets a boundary. It's an oppositional identity that sets a boundary on a community, mainly to set it apart from others. So he's calling it an identity, and not to an oppositional identity, whose objective is to create a boundary so that a community can be set apart from others. So that is Frederick Barth's view. So he's looking at ethnic identity as an identity where you create communities distinct from one another and identify their separateness. That is his idea. And next, discuss in India what are the reasons for ethnicity. Though it's a cultural identity, often ethnicity is used to lay claims to social, economic, and political rights. It is used to make claim to these social, economic, and political rights. Discuss these reasons. So what are the reasons? Economic backwardness could be a reason. Marginalization could be a reason. Absence of political rights. What we are saying in, for example, Manipur now. There is dominance of one tribes or non-tribes, or one region, one group or another group. Or it could be, for example, in Bodo areas, the idea is demographic change because of migration. So, when there are these substantial issues, the separate cultural identity of Frederick Barth, that we are a separate cultural group, is then revived. And separate cultural group tag is used to lay claim to separate political, is used to lay claim to special political or economic benefits. That is ethnicity. And in India, this question is also connected to the other question I gave you. 5A. So then we can talk about ethno-nationalism. Whenever you talk about ethnicity, please link it to ethno-nationalism . Ethno-nationalism and ethnic movements. So link it to both these ideas. Ethno-nationalism as well as ethnic movements. So in case of India, we have three types of ethno-national, ethno-political movements. One kind of movements are ones that want secession. Secessionist movements, or one that want an identity separate from India. Secessionist or separate ethnic identity outside Indian context. Example, Naga movement. Then they have separate identity but want to remain within India. These are separate state movements, movements for autonomy or separate statehood. Jharkhand. And because it's 10 marker, here you can write briefly, but if they ask 20 marker, like in 5A, where you try to describe Naga movement as well as Jharkhand movement in some detail. Then the third reason for ethnicity could be ecological nationalism. This is generally what we miss, but we can have this. Ecological nationalism is when people use ethnic identities to fight what they see as destruction of natural resources. Example best is Chipko. That is ecological nationalism, where the destruction of, for example, movements against deforestation, pollution, Narmada Bachao Andolan, or the Nyamguru movement, Chipko, you can write, or Coal Taro Satyagraha. These are all examples of ecological nationalism. People are responding to destruction of resource. So, because of resource or destruction of nature impacts indigenous communities severely. So, they are trying to fight the resource destruction through ethnic movements. That is another ethnic movement. So, you can describe each of them very briefly. So, that will be common framework for both 5A and 1A. I expect a question on ethnicity or ethno-national movement this year because of the prevailing violence in Manipur and the whole Kuki-Miki issue. We can expect a question on ethnic movements, ethno-nationalism or ethno-political movements. It is in news. We was not asked last year, which makes it a very highly likely topic for this year. So, you can prepare for it and use these examples as well. In new question on ethnicity, examples make a lot of difference. There is no theory there. There is only one person finding path and general idea what ethnicity is. Then the rest is all about describing each ethnic movement and how the ethnic movement used cultural identity to lay claim to some rights. Even Telangana can be used here. Telangana, Kashmir, Punjab, Khalistan movement, all can be used as examples of ethnic movement. So basically ethnicity is you are using culture. But the idea is because there are many cultural differences, but people don't everywhere come and say we want to be separate. For example, why do people of, let's say, Mumbai want separate city? Advanced regions do not mind separate culture. But when there is cultural difference, and the cultural difference overlaps with economic backwardness, political neglect, or when they are facing huge demographic migration, when there is a serious issue, that issue gets expressed in terms of culture. So, the underlying issue will always be social, economic, or political issue. The way that issue is expressed is ethnic cultural right. So, culture is used as a means to express a real grievance. That is ethnicity. That must come out, and the whole phenomenon must be explained in terms of different examples. That's it. 2A is quite straightforward. Youth dormitory as an institution. Let's discuss what is youth dormitory. Very simple. Basic details. What is it? Which tribes? Different names, and please include very relevant. Because very relevant studied these brothels among the Muslims. And you can tell how it is primarily an institution for sexual education and enculturation of the young. And youth dormitories are also a reflection of very flexible sexuality, very flexible or permissive sexual culture within tribal societies. Permissive attitude towards sexual relations. And they also have social functions like they organize collective social events, or these people support the elders economically, and educational functions. And then present status, how they are being threatened by outside, how these are being criticized and looked upon, looked down upon. So slowly, with outside contact, primarily under the influence of Christian missionaries and Hindu religion, these are now being dismantled. That's it. Patalgadi movement, I think many of you do not hear or know. So I shared a handout on this. This was the most recent. In fact, you can write Patalgadi movement also as an example of tribal movement. The most recent. There in Jharkhand, it was going on in 2019. In fact, it is because of this movement that BJP government lost election in Jharkhand, and Jharkhand Mukti Morcha won the election. Because of that, Sibu Soren and his son, I think I forgot his name, but Soren became a chief minister. Students were become chief minister because of Patalgadi movement only. So try the basic details. What is Patalgadi? Is nothing but a stone slab. So the tribal custom of placing the stone at the tomb of a dead person. So these stones were now placed all at the village entrances. I think the whole village is dead. So it's a kind of affection. So what is the underlying root cause against this Patalgadi? We have two acts that were brought by the British to give special rights to the tribal people of Jharkhand. Nagpur Convention Act, and then we also have Santal Parganas Tenancy Act. Nagpur Land Tenancy Act, I'm sorry, and the reverse also. This one is 1908, another is 1949. You just write the act. So these two acts were brought by the British, and these two acts protected tribal land. They special rights to tribal land. So according to because of this, they prohibit transfer of tribal land to non-tribals. These two acts prohibit land transfers from tribals to prohibit land transfer from tribals to non-tribals. And these two acts were thought to be diluted by the state government in 2016-17. So in these years, they had a global investor summit, like we have global investor summit to attract investments, and it was called Momentum Jharkhand. The summit was called and in this summit, Jharkhand government proposed land bank policy. They said we create land bank for industries, and accordingly they amended those two acts. Amendments were proposed to those two earlier acts, and as per those amendments, they made it easy because they must create a land bank. They removed the protection for tribal land. So tribal lands can be acquired for so-called development projects. So tribals now began to fear that it is nothing but a way to, the amendments are a way to grab tribal land for projects. So amendments were passed in 2016 to be able to acquire tribal land for development projects. And because of all this, the whole people in that area revolted. And we have a very good piece on this movement by Genius Kaka. So I shared an article on the group from EPW. You can go through the article to get a structure. So it is just describe the core issue, and it is mostly again what you write as land delineation and all of that, and then finally go forward, just write the recommendations of Genius Kaka committee on land delineation. That will be your content. So instead of asking a question on land delineation, I asked the movement, which is based on the very issue of land delineation. That's all. So these are what I call binary questions. You can ask the problem or the solution or the response. Next, for independence, I shared the note, please go through it. For any problem, what you are missing is, see, whenever you are discussing any problem, it could be land, it could be health, it could be education, any of these. When you are discussing these problems, you can discuss administrative reasons. So when you are discussing a problem and trying to identify the reasons for it, you can talk about administrative reasons like health or school, lack of teachers, lack of classrooms and all that. But also what most of you are missing is cultural reasons. It is unique to anthropology, others won't know. Any cultural reasons for this specific problem. So independence, you get data, very good. Most of you read the data, and then describe the reasons for it. First, talk about the extent of indebtedness, that is data. Then causes or reasons. What are the primary causes? It is that tribal economies are now changing from non-commercial to commercial, introduction of money economy, and this is being done without financial inclusion or financial literacy and social security mechanisms. And in the absence of all this, money lenders have become the source of credit. There is lack of access to formal credit and very high dependence on informal credit. That is the primary reason. And along with this, their culture is changing. They are emulating outsiders, and now they are also following an expensive lifestyle without the resource. So their weddings are becoming very expensive. The culture of giving easy loans, and there also culture of honesty. When they take up loans, they don't disown them. This culture of honesty is increasing this burden of indebtedness, and then discuss the impact of indebtedness that nobody is writing. Reasons, impact. What is the impact of indebtedness? What is the major impact? Land alienation, bondage, debt bondage. So, the most important impact is bondage. And then talk about bonded tribes. We have many bonded tribes, many bonded systems also. The Kotla, Wanadi, and for example, we have Hali system in Saharia. This is another example of bondage. Likewise, we have Jyoti system. So these are all systems of bondage. So there is control over the life, bondage, land alienation, and in extreme cases, women are forced into prostitution. So these are the impacts. And then way forward, provide financial literacy and regulate money lending activity, include access to cheap and modern credit, along with changing their lifestyle. That's it. Regionalism in tribes is again like ethnicity only, it's quite similar. Again, the format is similar. What is regionalism? Regions, examples of tribal regionalism, again same examples come. Jharkhand, Gondwana, Bins, Bhilwara, Chhattisgarh. In fact, for regionalism also you can take Northeast. The demand for Meghalaya, demand for Mizoram, present ongoing demand for Bodoland. So regionalism you can also include. After regionalism, today there is also a demand for sub-regionalism among Indian tribes. So you can also say there is now demand for sub-regionalism among the tribes. And way forward again similar. Development, political rights, maintaining, preserving their culture, and ensuring that there is no uncontrolled migration. Then we have indigenous knowledge and Indian tribes. Indigenous knowledge and Indian tribes. For this also I share the handout. So indigenous knowledge. So first define what is indigenous knowledge and say tribes have a rich heritage of IK. And discuss the benefits of this. What are the benefits? What are the forms in which they have? First, not benefits, forms. In fact, if you look at today's handout, this tribal policy gives a lot of importance to indigenous knowledge. Tribal policy 1, 2. On the second page, traditional wisdom. So we have a lot of indigenous knowledge in terms of ecology, in terms of water harvesting techniques, irrigation channels, construction of cane bridges, adaptation to desert life, utilization of forest species like herbs, shrubs, meteorological assessment, For example, we famously quote the example of North Vietnamese and how they survived the 2004 tsunami. They do not have tsunami prediction system, but they survived because of their understanding of meteorology. They saw some waves going back and probably guessed that something was happening and they climbed trees before the waves hit. So the North Indians, who are very primitive people, survived the tsunami which most of us do not survive. Most southern societies not prepared for. That is how we can talk about IK. So what are the forms of it and then benefits? Benefits can be how do you use individuals' knowledge for inclusive growth. If you commercialize it, we can use it for sustainable development, improve incomes. Individuals' knowledge also helps with decentralized development. But then challenges, a big challenge is biopiracy. For challenges, we can write things like biopiracy. This is one big challenge. And then absence of documentation, awareness, poor commercialization. In fact, IPR policy 2016 talks about this issue of commercialization also. So poor commercialization, weak documentation, absence of systems of licensing and royalties. And in case of documentation, we can talk about PKDL. One good initiative to document tribal knowledge. So PKDL is one good initiative. So this is how we can refer to, we can talk about indigenous knowledge. Next, health and nutritional status. Yes?
There is a Supreme Court case also, sir. Patanjali court directed Patanjali to pay royalty to some tribes.
Okay, this Patanjali, they used okay, that not the Balakrishna was involved in that fight, right? Correct. You can use that case. I'll check and post the link. I forgot that issue. Patanjali and case of biopiracy, how they use some tribal knowledge. The most biggest issue is lack of documentation. Anybody can use. That's why biopiracy becomes a major problem. So if you document it and then come up with a system of licensing and royalty, things will be better. Here you can also, if you are interested, talk about Biodiversity Act 2002. We have some concept called as preparing people's register for biodiversity. The idea of having people register for biodiversity is so that we can provide licensing systems and royalties for sustainable use of biodiversity. Next, health and nutrition. Here you must write health data. See, again, like I said, any problem, any issue, education, health, first extent of the issue, grievance, and then impact if possible, and then way forward. Very simple. And many case studies are best practices. This is all you need. So in case of tribal, for example, if you write, I said nutrition also, so malnutrition is very high. You can quote Kata committee report here or NFHS 5, and in case of tribals there is also Abhay Bang committee. Tribal health, you also have another committee very recently called Abhay Bang committee that came after Kaka committee. So you can take the use of Abhay Bang committee also. So give the indicators, for example, in tribals, undernutrition is very high. Undernutrition is around 52%. Stunting is around 55%. Wasting is around 22%. And only 10% have access to household pipes with tap water. 10% households. This is the data for malnutrition. Likewise, you can also write health data. Life expectancy in tribal regions is just 60 per 1. IMR is 88 for every 1000. Under 5 mortality rate is 129. Sex ratio is 990. You can write the indicators and then discuss the reasons for poor health. In regions also, again, most of you are missing the cultural factors. Cultural factors for poor health. You are writing administrative factors, that's fine. Administrative factors like lack of hospitals, lack of nurses, beds, and all this, along with this cultural factors. What are cultural factors? Tribal system of dependence on traditional healing methods. And the belief in shamans or ethno medicine, and their understanding of disease. First of all, what is their idea of disease? They believe that somebody is sick because taboos. They violated some taboos, or the supernatural is furious. So that's the idea of disease. Because that is the idea of disease. The belief of what cures them also is different. They go to a shaman and perform a ritual for healing rather than taking a medicine or getting a scan. So this is the cultural reason for why a lot of them do not go to hospital even there is a hospital there. So that's cultural reasons, and then talk about other issues. These are general health issues like low social determinants of health, like access to water, to good food, cooking gas, and then incidence of talk about high consanguineous marriages and inbreeding. There is a case study on bills here. How, because of consanguineous marriages and inbreeding, the number of genetic disorders is very high. Because of this, there is a high extent of genetic disorders. Along with this, also discuss other issues like rising burden of infectious diseases, sickle cell anemia. That's why we also have sickle cell anemia mission, right? Malaria, these are all tribal specific diseases. Malaria, sickle cell anemia, infectious diseases, animal bites because they live close to animal bites and falls and accidents. So all these are tribal specific issues. Let's see if and then another issue is addiction, alcohol and drug addiction, consumption of tobacco, that is another issue, and emerging threats because of environmental pollution and climate change. So please write those as well. Emerging threats due to environmental pollution and climate change. Addiction is another, and I hope you also wrote this issue of forced sterilization. That is another issue. Most of them go to is whenever the collectors or MROs have family targets, tribals become victims. So forced sterilization. And other issues like vaccine hesitancy, so low uptake of vaccines, crude birth practices, and few institutional deliveries. You still have delivery by midwife. So these kinds of practices are also causing high IMR and MMR. Then we talked about poor health infrastructure like hospitals, PHCs, doctors' unwillingness to work in tribal areas, shortage of nurses, all the other factors you can list. And then give some suggestions, recommendations. You can use Bund committee or you can use Taka committee for recommendations. In recommendations, we should talk about special measures like increase the budget and then co-op tribal healers in this, promote Ayush because it is closer to tribal ethnic medicine and increase the infrastructure, health literacy and also promote community-based healthcare rather than creating formal doctors. You can create a lot of community health workers like Harsha, Anganwadi workers. So community health workers. And then focus on increasing social determinants of health, that is nutrition. And focus on food fortification and millet promotion for hunger because millets are the traditional foods and they have the nutritional value. But the most food is rice, there is only calories but no very less nutritional value comparatively. So you can go for millet promotion or food fortification. So these are the ideas that you can include under this. Then critical evaluate national tribal policy. So I gave you this handout, right? I posted this also on the group. So you can go through this. This talks about, see basically we only have a draft national tribal policy. We don't have a formal tribal policy. But that doesn't mean they won't ask a question. That's why I gave you this. So just take the highlighted portions from the, I just highlighted the important sections of this entire report, just borrow them. So it has some vision in terms of education, in terms of health, traditional wisdom. All these are issues that you know. You just need to know that these different categories or different heads are being covered. And displacement, what should be done. So displacement, it talks about being land for land, protecting fishing rights, resettling as a group, resettling close to their natural habitat, provide basic amenities before resettlement, and then forest rights, and also about how do you handle shifting cultivation. And then finally IPR and tribal rights, tribal languages. So for each heading, just note 2-3 things and cover some 6 headings. You will get 12 points. That's more or less enough. And then in the end, if they ask criticism, just say it is not going far enough. More can be done. So those kind of things, because this is not a formal policy, we cannot go for any formal informed criticism also. Just say it is not going far enough or the funding or the intention is not fully fledged or it doesn't touch aspects of governance like 5th and 6th schedule, doesn't propose any new legislative framework, doesn't propose any new administrative structures. You can say those are criticisms. It is trying to do some good work within existing framework instead of revitalizing the framework. That can be the main criticism for NTP. Because if you see, they don't talk about any new legislative structure or new policy measure. It's all about incrementalism than overhaul. Next, examine the role of NGOs and missionaries in transformation of scheduled tribes. So again, write for NGOs and missionaries separately. Don't club them together. Write them separately. Here first talk about NGOs advantages. This comes from GS2. That is flexible organization. From GS2 we have some basic content on NGOs, right? Like flexible organization. Next, more trust by local communities. Better understanding of the issues because they are living in one area. And they can act as intermediaries between people and government in terms of policy formulation, policy implementation, policy evaluation. all three stages. And then some famous NGOs that we know and their good work in different areas. For example, Bharat Jan Andolan, this is an NGO that fought for Visa Act 1996. So Bharat Jan Andolan. Then we also have Samata that fought for the Samata judgment in UP. That is another very famous NGO. Then you have NGOs like Vasundhara which are working in the areas of tribal livelihood and education also in UP. Then you have organizations which fought for tribal rights against land and led tribal movements like Niyamgiri Suraksha Samiti. These are tribal led and tribal based organizations. Then you have Narmada Bachao Andolan, another NGO. I shared a link of some 5 NGOs apparently in India which are doing very good work for tribal people. I shared a link. Then we have something called Mira Education and Welfare Society, Nilgiris Wayanad Tribal Welfare Society, Kalinga Institute of Social Sciences, Parivar Education Society, Rajasthan Bal Kalyan Samiti. So the article gives you 5 contemporary NGOs which are doing good work in the area of research, livelihood, education and childcare. So just go to that article on the group where these 5 NGOs are. Another very famous NGO is Lok Biradari Prakalp. Any idea who is the lead person behind this? Prakash Amte. The Prakash Amte is the founder of, son of Baba Amte. He is the founder of Lok Biradari Prakalp. It's a NGO he founded, and he and his wife, both accomplished doctors, are working in the forests of Maharashtra serving Bund people. This Lok Biradari Prakalp is like a society called NGO. There they are providing healthcare while also trying to promote an alternate livelihood, and is famous for adopting a tiger. So you have videos of him playing with a tiger, not a small but full-grown tiger. So whether if you can tame a tiger, you can tame any man and change him. So that is another famous NGO. And then talk about the problems with NGOs. That is embezzlement of funds, stalling development, forced conversions, bringing external. You can also add agencies like Greenpeace, Amnesty. Greenpeace is one, Amnesty is another. These are examples of other NGOs that you can include here. And then problems with them. Likewise, missionaries, briefly their importance, and missionaries will discuss as part of Christianity because the content will be similar. And finally, how do you use both these actors for tribal development while regulating them? That's all. For problems, you can write both combined together, but for advantages and contributions, write each of them individually. Next, 4A. This I'm surprised why you had difficulty in the sense that I think most of you misinterpreted the question. I think one script I found a history of entire British policy. Is it your script? Yes. You know the whole story of half of the answer, more than half was about British policies since 18th century to 1935. Not needed. So just focus on 5th and 6th schedules. So saying that built on foundations laid by colonial government. You can say yes to an extent. And then, but no, there is more to it. That's all. And then critically examine. So discuss the working of 5th and 6th schedule. What are the provisions, weakness, way forward. So first you begin by saying yes, it was borrowed from some colonial legislations. And here talk about excluded and the idea of excluded and partially excluded They said colonial foundation. They didn't say it is entirely colonial in nature. The word is colonial foundation, which is true because after all 15th and 16th schedule come from this. So you can say this is the basis for 15th and 16th schedule post-independence. But then, unlike the British vision, where they really wanted to exploit tribal areas or use the tribal areas for their economic benefit, post-independence the constitution actually had a vision for the tribal development and providing autonomy. So the 5th and 6th schedules, while having the foundation of colonial structures, goes beyond colonial legislation. That you must write. And then discuss 5th schedule provisions. Very briefly, three. It has only three things: governor's powers to make regulations, governor powers to exempt from laws. So, his power of regulation, issuing regulations, power of exempting some laws by notification, and then Tribes Advisory Council (TAC), and then lastly we also have President's Governor's report to President of India. Likewise, 6th schedule, what are the provisions? Here we talk about autonomous districts, autonomous councils, different funds, and how these councils have special powers in different areas. And along with that, we have village councils. So these are like states within states. And finally, say 5th schedule is paternalistic, whereas 6th schedule is participative. And then discuss the issues with them. So you can just draw a table like this and briefly, because the questions scope is very vast, instead of writing detailed points for each dimension, you can just use table to compare 15th schedule provisions and then issues. Again, 5th schedule issues, 6th schedule issues. Put the heading issues and then 5th and 6th. So 6th schedule issues, the TAC is overridden. Governor's powers should be used by discretion or not discretion. And report is not submitted on time. And next, 5th schedule in general, states are dominating tribal areas by using the mechanisms of 5th. Then likewise 6th schedule. In 6th schedule, discuss what are the overall it is better, but then still these councils are dismissed. State governments block funds, block functioning. And in the councils also, where we have multi-tribal councils, the numerically larger tribe is dominating the smaller tribes. That is what we are seeing in Manipur now. And the women are also underrepresented. That's it. Finally, way forward as suggested by this committee. This committee is suggesting that Kaka committee suggests that we extend 6th schedule also to central India, and it is suggesting that within 6th schedule we have to create tribe specific councils as much as possible. And provide better representation for minor tribes and women. And you can say their 6th schedule has not really worked well, where we see increasing demands for separate statehood. For example, Bodoland is a classic example. They already have a 6th schedule council, but yet they are not happy, they want Bodoland. Even Kasi, Meghalaya state was formed similarly. Kasi, Jaintia, Garo, these three already have 6th schedule council in Assam state, but they are not happy. So they wanted Meghalaya a separate state for the tribals of Assam. Next, impact of Christianity on tribes of central India and northeast. Here, briefly discuss the history of Christianity. So, you can say how Christianity was introduced into tribal areas by the British as part of the policy of exclusion. So, British followed a system of indirect administration, where they will take care of revenue matters, but then the non-revenue development matters or cultural issues were entirely given over to missionaries. So missionaries were given the free run in tribal areas. And then Christianity, discuss their quality work first, both in central India and northeast India. Positive workers, they first reformed tribal culture. Reformed tribal culture. So in Nagas, for example, headhunting was discouraged. Since human sacrifices used to exist, they were removed. Even in Garas, they used to have headhunting. They were also done away with. Second, healthcare. So because of this, we have hospitals and increased institutional deliveries. They also provided social service. So, for example, neighbors used to bury the orphan with their dead parents. So, they set up orphanages, old age homes, welfare homes were neglected. So, that is social service, health, social service, education, setting up schools, and through education, they acted as the earliest agency of westernization in tribal areas. And they also developed many scripts for tribal languages. So, they put many tribal languages into the form of scripts. That is another extraordinary work that they have done. Then they are also responding to crises and disasters. So because of these healthcare facilities, the so-called cruel birth practices, all of these things were overcome. These were solved and overcome. They set up tribal scripts were also developed, and the disaster response is another important function. And Christianity also found the mechanism through which ethnic identities were formed. For example, Naga identity, Naga nationalism, this is all led by Christianity. A.N. Fizo, for example, the leader of Naga insurgency, used to get funding from London because he had supporters there. So, this whole Naga identity was built by the church, and church acted as a leadership for many of these movements. Just like shamans used to lead tribal revolts, the priests and pastors began to lead these Naga nationalist movements. And Christianity also helped people deal with trauma due to insurgency. Deal with the trauma of insurgency because of violence, and people, children, husbands and sons died, they were used. And then Christianity was also used as a symbol of revolt. So conversion to Christianity was the tool of revolt by tribals. So if you could convert it, you are now rebelling against caste or non-tribals or outsiders. That is how we can discuss the issue. And then negatives. Negatives, forced conversions. And then Christianity imposed, for example, rigid, or Christianity imposed external morality in tribal society, because of which they judged tribal culture in a ethnocentric way. They destroyed brothels. In the name of reforming culture, they had this idea of white man's burden, or civilizing the savaged. Civilizing the savages. So many tribal institutions like brothels were criticized, and they promoted a rigid social code. And internal conflicts, internal divides in society because of conversion to Christianity. This is seen among Kasis, where the whole society was broken down into converts and non-converts, and this occasionally can lead to communal violence, communal polarization. So, this is how we can discuss this type of Christianity, and because of these negativities, tribals responded through revivalist movements. So, always use tribal movements as a theme in your answers. Most students don't use this. So, because of all this unrest in society, tribals responded through revivalist movements. What are some revivalist movements? For example, the Saint-Kasi movement, Veliangrong movement, these are examples of tribal movements which try to address this issue. There are some more movements. They are called revivalist movements. The Adi Samaj movement among hosts. So they are all revivalist movements. So you can say the changes introduced by Christianity in some ways increased or improved tribal life, in other ways disturbed it, and the disturbance led to tribal responded to revivalistic movements. That's it. So these movements, whenever you find, even when you have a question on displacement, use tribal movements. When there is a question on poverty or indebtedness, use tribal movement as a response of tribals. Next, distinctive features of northeastern tribes. I again shared a complete handout on this. There will be a lot of information for this, so I won't repeat myself here. So in the handout, I gave you different cultural. Yeah.
In this question, where are we differentiating between Central India and North India?
I specifically, because of the switching marker, I think it is difficult to make the demarcation. That is good. But if they ask specifically Central and North, write these commonly, and then specific to Northeast is the points we discussed, like insurgency and formation of identities, those points, and the other point, identity, insurgency, and this last point, right?
Symbol of revolt.
And sign of revolt. That you can use for both, but these two you would use mostly for Northeast because others are common to all the other areas. Insurgency and using tribal Christianity for formation of identities, ethnic identities. Those are unique to Northeast.
Anything unique to Central India?
These are all common to both. Because in Central India, what we generally have is welfare activity. It will not really cause much disturbance as in Northeast, because in Northeast it created Christian dominated states. In Central India, it remained a marginal thing. That's why in tribal movements also we have mostly, real movement also we have mostly Northeast examples. Yes. So cultural features of tribes of Northeast India, I gave that handout. From that you can take a lot of content and just give you a framework to borrow the content. Just use syllabus for when you have this social change or this unknown question, just use paper and syllabus 2.1 to 5. So what are the unique civil society features? What are the unique marriage features, family features, kinship? So you have matrilineal on both matrilineal among Kasis and Garos, economy, shifting cultivation primarily, political, we'll discuss political, religion, they have mostly animism, Bombayism, animatism, naturism, and these tribal religions were slowly replaced by Christianity. So discuss each of these examples, take some examples for different types. Economically, focus on shifting cultivation. Politically, generally whenever we discuss tribal, and also you can add to this food and culture. So you can add things like Hornbill Festival, unique dressing, and other cultural things like youth dormitories, headhunting. You can add all these things as tribal cultural features. And under political organization, you can see there are 5 types according to Sengupta. There are 5 types according to Sengupta. One is Council of Elders. Second is village headman. Third is tribal chief. Village panchayat. Five is union of the village. These are the 5 basic different systems that used to exist. Increasingly, these are giving way to 6 schedule councils, your panchayat councils, and they are increasingly being replaced by state government and central government agencies. That's all. Right? Next, 5B. I also expect a question on tribal movements because they have not asked a question on tribal movements in long time, I think even ever. So, on tribal movements also I shared one original handout paper by Virginius Kaka. But that is seen as a more authentic note on tribal movements. So, in tribal movements, just define them. Tribal movements are nothing but a category of social movements. They are nothing but a category of social movements raising specific concerns of tribal people. And then there are broadly 2 classifications, but somehow I prefer Virginius Kaka's classification. Another classification is to go by chronological order. They start with the early tribal revolts that happened in the pre-independence and Sannyasi revolt and others, and then the Santal rebellion, and then the Bunda rebellion, and so on. You can come linearly. That is one. But that doesn't have any elegant categorization. Instead, I prefer the framework given by Virginius Kaka. He says we can classify the entire tribal movements into Sanskritization movements, to culture and identity movements, three land and forest movements, four autonomy movements. These are the 4 different categories he gives. Now you can write all these examples under this. But just writing from 18th century all the way to 21st century doesn't give you this kind of elegant categorization. So what are Sanskritization movements? These are movements which came as a response to outsiders' contact and economic distress. So the tribals were facing land alienation, indebtedness, and they were being also ridiculed as being culturally inferior by outsiders in central India. So as a response to all this, just like we have in independent modern India, social religious reforms, where due to British contact, Indians began to take a critical look at their own culture. Tribals began to take a critical look at their own culture, and we began to imitate the culture of outsiders. These are called Sanskritization movements. For example, for Sanskritization, we have movements like the famous Tana Bhagat movements. Tana Bhagat movements, the Birsa Munda movement, the Santal rebellion, the Hari Baba movement, Rajmohini movement by Imam Gomes, women led by Raj Mohini Devi. These are all examples of Sanskritization movement. Then there is this Devi movement in Gujarat. But the most famous are all, they are all called as Tana Bhagat movements. So tribals wanted to reform their own culture. How? They wanted to, for example, become vegetarian, ban on alcohol consumption. They began to wear sacred threads, give up polluting occupations, change their gods and goddesses. So these are all examples of Sanskritization movements. So Sanskritization movements are most like reformation. It is like Brahma Samaj, where if the outsiders are better, maybe we will change ourselves. The culture and identity movements, these are not reformation, these are revivalistic. Where they felt the reason for their problems is that the original culture was pure. Like go back to Vedas. Our original tribal culture was pure, but now the tribal culture was polluted by outside contact, and because of that, we are all suffering from problems. Hence, what should we do? We should go back to the original tribal culture. That is culture and identity movements. And examples of what we discussed earlier. Santasi movement among Kasis, Zaliangro movement among the Nagas. Third, what was the one I discussed there? Adi Samaj movement among hosts. These are the examples of the movements which caused a lot of turmoil in tribal areas. And then post-independence, we don't have these two because cultural attacks stopped. They no longer ridiculed as people with inferior culture. Of course, the culture of being eroded is a different issue, but they were not ridiculed because of Article 29, 30 and then Article 14 and so on. But then post-independence, the land and forest movement began to become prominent because their land and forest rights were being threatened. These are the movements which start with that slogan, Jal, Jungle, Zameen. You have many examples here. You can write ample examples like Narmada Bachao Andolan, Niyamgiri, Koel Caro struggle, you also write Chipko. Even here is where you can also add LWE, Naxalism.
What is Koel Kara struggle?
It's a dam, it's a struggle against dams built on two rivers, Koel and Caro in Jharkhand. It's in the Damodar Valley. It happened in the 70s and 80s. Patalgadi movement also you can add here. Where?
MP's Nagar, the battleground of IFS, IPS, tribal leaders and youths.
What is happening there?
They are evicting tribals, saying that they are mafia, and tribals are saying we are only protecting Forest Rights Act, which is our.
Okay, let me go to it. I didn't go through that article. What's exactly happening there? Just send me the link. I'll see if it is. When was this?
July 1st.
First, I must have quickly I'm not able to recall the details. Okay, that one. IPS and IFS turf war. That article. Correct. So, I'm not able to recall the details now. I'll check the article and again post back. So, you can use that link also. I remember it was some turf war because tribals were trying to protect some traditional plantations or something, and forest wanted to clear it, and then the law and order situation, IPS people came in. That article, I think so, right? I forgot the details, precise details. I'll post that on the group. Maybe you can see if that is relevant.
Sir, one thing I observed, everybody is writing the same examples. Almost all the topper scripts. So, current affairs, some ideas.
This is fundamental tribes. So what happens is that there are very few movements. If you have caste movements, you have so many caste movements happening every year. In tribes, what happens is that the amount of fresh struggles, first, few are reported. Many is happening, but very few are reported because media presence in tribal area is very marginal. And among the few reported, only few will be significant. So we have to just, using that issue, if it is not something the examiner knows and if it is not really a significant issue, we can't write. So if I look at this last few months, the only significant issue I can see is that Manipur ethnic violence. Everywhere else I don't see any major trust or major development. So, but if there is a major announcement, all this and the PVT is a mission that they launched. I can only think of these two as major developments in this last 6 to 7 months. So, unless it's very important, don't venture into new, because in the sometimes the students scripts also they say in Anthropology or in this tribal area this happened. It's so small. So, if you are ignoring a major well-known example for an obscure new example, it tells out. If you can write something like a Niyamgiri issue and say the same thing, and just take some remote issue somewhere in Kerala or Madhya Pradesh and write, it's an obscure issue that very few know. You are writing an obscure issue to sound new, and in the process you are giving up a very famous example which has high impact. Just see what's the trade-off, and then you decide. If the trade-off is not much, then go ahead. But if in the process of explaining some very obscure thing, if it is not meaningful, just because it is fresh, you won't get marks. Because the examiner also must know what you are writing, right? That's why be careful with what you pick as new. Okay? So you can write a lot of this and especially highlight left-wing extremism as one of the land and forest movements. And last you have the autonomy. Those are all the northeast ethnic movements again. Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, they are all autonomy based movements. So I think this is a very, very neat way of classifying the entire tribal issue. 4 categories. The last two mostly after independence, the first two mostly pre-independence. Within them also, I didn't tell you here, but you can add. Within them he says the movements are of 2 types. Revolt and rebellion is one type, and cultural change is another. For example, sometimes we call it as rebellion. That is, the whole idea was to overthrow the government. They came with bows and arrows and attacked British garrison. So these movements, some of these movements also have the rebellion element. Post-independence, the element of revolt and rebellion is less, except for Naxalism. Other movements are not trying to overthrow the state. Other movements are trying to use democratic means to fight development projects, like Narmada Bachao Andolan or Niyamgiri. They are all using democratic means to fight development projects. You can write that. And lastly, you can say, though we have this classification, this is only useful to an extent, but in general, tribal movements involve multiple issues. That is, a typical movement will involve a cultural issue, will involve an economic issue, will also involve some demands for autonomy. So, tribal movements in general try to touch multiple issues at one go. That is why they will have this categorization. It is only technical. It is only technical and doesn't really help us in a long term. You can write the conclusion, but try to stick to this categorization. And I posted the original article also on the group by Kaka. You can use that for reference. Lastly, FRA, this is very straightforward. I am not sure why some students also cannot problem with this. You just have to read the content from Kaka report and write. Very, very straightforward. I think it is the simplest question in the entire paper. So, just discuss the background. Here, what most students miss is background. Why forest FRA was needed? That is, here discuss the relationship between tribals and forest, the symbiotic relationship. Discuss the background briefly, very briefly. How they had a deep connection, and because of the connection, we needed to have special legislation in the form of FRA 2006. Discuss the provisions. Even here there is a problem. I don't know why. Just 5, 6, 4, 5 provisions. First, they are given land rights, that is up to 4 hectares, up to, not open blanket 4. And then second, these rights, these are also called as community rights, these are called as individual rights. Third, they also have the special powers given to Grama Sabha. So here the word is Grama Sabha consent, not Grama Sabha's consultation. And lastly, the process, three-tier process for determination of rights. And of course, the fifth, I forgot one, that is right to participate in forest conservation. So you have these 1 to 3 rights. Right to participate in forest conservation. Earlier, forest department was saying forest conservation is our duty, who are you to come and participate. The fact says doesn't require any forest department to conserve the forest, anybody can conserve the forest. So they also have a right now. Forest department can't come and tell you can't come and participate in conservation and all that. That can't be said. So it is the other issue, and then discuss the role of Gram Sabha and three tier, and then issues. Within court Kaka committee here, they have given out the list of so many issues. First is fabrication, denial, forced consent. Then community rights are being ignored. Individual rights, that is, land rights are given to an extent, but group rights or community rights are being largely ignored. That is another issue. Then the issues with conflict with joint forest management committees. Another issue is it gives special rights to PVTGs called PVTG habitat rights. There is no clarity on what is this so-called special habitat rights given to PVTGs, because nobody knows what this is. This has to be figured out with local authorities, with NGOs help, but nobody knows what is this PVTG habitat rights. That is another point. And then forest rights are being exempted by declaring areas as critical wildlife habitat or critical tiger habitat, because according to Wildlife Protection Act, some areas can be declared as critical wildlife habitat, critical tiger habitat. Those areas can be exempted from forest rights. So just to explain forest rights by declaring the areas as this. So this, and finally way forward. What do we do? How do we improve this? So we NGOs, increase awareness and strengthen Grama Sabha. And we can say it is time to have FRA 2.0. To improve upon some of the limitations within the Act. Where the 2.0 must to talk about not just the rights, but the implementation framework for these rights. Like for example, creating a special body or giving a jurisdiction to NCST. Another point I forgot the other issue. Here you can say it gives land rights to two categories of people. That is forest dwelling scheduled tribes and OTFD, other traditional forest dwellers. Who is OTFD? One who is living in a forest area for 2 generations or 75 years. That's what you must write here. That's it. So that is more or less what you have to write. So clear, also please go through the handout I gave here and the content I posted on the group for additional information. Right? So with this I think most of social answer is over. Next, focus on physical. Archaeology, I think you can do it as per your pace, but as per test I have given a test, but I think archaeology is something you can handle at your pace, because its importance is relatively less compared to others and difficulty level is also high. So you can write that with flexibility, I don't mind. What's the issue? What is the problem with archaeo? Real exam or mock test? Mock test you will have sectional technical writing, only the archaeology. But in the real exam, then just the archaeology will be 40-50 marks. Exactly. One solution I found for archaeology is you make very short notes and read that on the morning of the exam. Just read it, wake up at 6:30, read from 6:30 to 8:30 and go in at 9 and write them first. That is like reading short term memory to dump what you know, because archaeology is difficult to remember, not just for me also. So what do? Use your short-term memory. Condition your memory prior. That is, you read it 4-5 times. So your memory is conditioned. On the day of the exam, just before you walk in, that is the first thing, last thing you must revise, and first thing you must write. That is a way to cope up with the memory intensiveness of the topic. So the memory is fresh. Because you just read half an hour ago, you are writing it there. You are not cheating the exam, but then you are using the examination structure to handle a topic that is memory intensive. So not just answer any other subject also. Whatever is memory intensive, use short-term memory. That is, read those. When you revise, maintain a list of topics that are memory intensive. You will have in every paper maybe 5 to 10 topics. Those 5 10, because you maintain the list, make short notes prior to the exam, and before you go to the exam, in the last 1 hour, you read it. So revision is effective when you prepare for revision. To prepare for revision, you must identify which have to be given early revision, which have to be given last minute revision. So revision is generally unplanned. So areas like this, so in last minute revision must be 2 things. High probability questions should be in last minute revision, and also memory intensive questions must also be in the last minute revision. Those you revise in lunch break for afternoon session, and in the morning, early morning hours for the morning session. That's one way to handle that. Right? And don't do it for essay paper, because in essay you must think. This last minute revision on essay kills your thinking power. There you just go and think in terms of what you just read. In exam, what is needed is an open mind. Just because you memorize some content and go to the exam, your mind will just think about that content, and your logical, natural thinking will be killed. For essay, don't do that. For other papers, you can do it, because essay is the only paper where you can think. You know the paper, you have scope for thinking. All right?
Sir, why are they not asking questions from 1.4? Like
1.4 is primates.
1.7.
That is biology, basically.
And there is no content also. From where should we read?
For that, you have to read some SMT bio, cell division, these topics, right? Those I don't think they will ask also, because it is actually speaking not anthropology. By some reason, they increased in the syllabus. They are not asking it probably because it is not really anthropology, it is biology. So I have no reason to believe they will ask it. They are also categorized. If they want to ask, they will first ask level 1 topics. Because the idea is exam, they will first throw easy topics first. These are untouched area. In untouched area, you have 2 levels, slightly easy and very difficult topics. The first time they enter in the untouched area, they generally touch this. Unless the examiner is extremely trying to punish you or push you, you won't directly jump to here if it is an untouched area. In this, level 1 is cell division, DNA replication as level 1. Level 2 is protein synthesis. So try to avoid protein synthesis for now. Just look at DNA replication and cell division, and there prepare the outline. Outline in terms of what is the importance of that process, what is the principle behind the process, steps in the process. Here's the outline with some diagram. So I have again no reason to believe they will go there, because if they will not ask, it is not because they don't know the syllabus. I guess in their biology topics which they accidentally placed here, they don't want to step into biology. Strictly speaking, it's not anthropology at all. Even genetics is not strictly anthropology. That is the reason why 9.1 to 9.4 questions, very few questions come. Though it seems difficult. 9.5 onwards is the real anthropology. And if you look at questions also, more questions come from 9.5 and to 12. So even they don't want to ask a lot of biology. Genetics and 1.7 are more biology in orientation. That's the reason why question wise also the importance is less. Alright? Okay. On the base, prepare well for physical anthro.